What's up, my Degens? How we doing? Welcome to Dynasty Degens. We are doing the Dynasty Show today. And what better guest to have on with me is Mr. JC. So if you don't know JC, you haven't been with us from day one. And I'm glad that you joined us late, but I'm kind of disappointed that you don't know who JC is. He started this brand with me. He's the one that sat down with me. We discussed what we want to do, what kind of show we want to make. And it's really, I love the full circle moment, man. I love having this guy back on. So, I'll cut this a little short and introduce JC. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Nerd, what's going on, man? Yeah, it's definitely, like you said, full circle moment. Happy to be back talking with you some Dynasty, and it's been a long time coming. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad I could get you out of retirement. Obviously, we're friends. We've talked. We've kind of had children and gone through it, and just the juggling of content and family. Family always comes first, and this stuff is fun, but it's hard to keep it going. And it's tough when you lose sight of what's truly important in life, man. I mean, I think taking breaks and doing that. Obviously, I took a year off of content in general. Coming back is great, but there's something about content that takes over you eventually, and you're like, okay, I got to pump the brakes a little bit. I gotta sit back and enjoy family time and enjoy my personal life too. But like I said, it's always good to have you coming back. Today we were talking contender or pretender. We are talking about quarterbacks. So the idea of the show is we're really going to just assess what we've seen so far. From a tape standpoint, analytical standpoint, whatever it is that we kind of touch on, and discuss if we think these guys are going to make it in the NFL, that we are looking at dynasty assets. It's hard to do this with quarterbacks because we see the revival of guys all the time. But from our educated guesses, from what we've seen so far, it's really what we're going to do. And I think the best person to start this off with is Mr. JJ McCarthy out of Minnesota. So I know that we just watched that game this past week, and there's a lot of discourse saying JJ McCarthy needs to go. He's not the future of the Minnesota Vikings. We see frustration from Addison, from JJ. How you feeling about JJ McCarthy? We're looking at 5 games in right now.
Yeah, and I think like the overall contender or pretender moniker for the episode fully encompasses JJ McCarthy. I don't think there's a single quarterback in the landscape that we could really be having that conversation about more so than JJ McCarthy. I mean, if you remember back when that draft occurred, there were a lot of people that were potentially thinking about taking JJ McCarthy over a guy like Drake Maye because of the landing spot. Oh, he's with KOC. This offense is great. He's got Justin Jefferson. He's got Jordan Addison. He's got TJ Hawkinson. Look at all the weapons in this offense. Look at everything that Kevin O'Connell's done with quarterbacks. I mean, he made Josh Dobbs playable for months on end for that one season. So with JJ, at some point, I think we really have to understand that it just has not been working. And I don't know if that's a processing thing, if the game is too fast for him, but he's down on the sideline dressed and he's taking all the mental reps and he's supposed to be listening in on the plays when Wentz is playing. Like Wentz wasn't great, but Wentz at least was serviceable. Like they won games with Wentz playing quarterback and being an okay quarterback. Sam Darnold, he's looked pretty good in Seattle this year. So I don't know. Has Kevin O'Connell found his match in terms of I just can't fix this guy, and he's been able to fix every other guy that's played quarterback for him? I think JJ has the tools. I think he has the weapons. Ultimately, I think it's a processing thing, and I just haven't seen enough evidence to support that he's capable of processing an entire game.
Yeah, I think that's what I see when I watch this film. I look at JJ and I see flashes of excellent quarterback play. We've seen him put together quarters of really good play. We've seen him be a very good quarterback in little snippets, in little parts of the game, and plays and downs. And, it hasn't been through and through, besides this last game, like from beginning to end, awful. But what I saw from this game was somebody that isn't processing the game correctly, isn't looking at the field correctly, and isn't able to situate himself so that mechanically he can throw the ball well. Like I see him throwing without his feet set every single time in this game. He is rushing. He never really sets himself up for a throw. And a lot of the throws that he makes is he's in motion, which he does well sometimes when he's rolling out to the right, or I think some of his best plays are when he rolls out. But this is in the pocket where he's not set. He's not stepping forward. He's throwing backwards a lot, and when I see that, I just see a guy that's in his own head. I see somebody that doesn't necessarily feel confident, isn't comfortable, and is playing nervous. I see him throwing with phantom pressure too. A lot of these rush throws, nobody was even around him. Like I saw him throw that interception that when he was targeting Addison, and he had a clean pocket for the most part. Like there was nobody in his face up until like there was no rush to get that ball out there. And I think that's where a lot of the inaccuracies come from, when he's overthrowing or underthrowing. And I don't know, man. It just looks like a massive project right now. If there's reasons to feel optimistic, I guess, when we look at past guys. Everyone wants to point at Josh Allen's start of his career and the way that he played, and we're looking at JJ McCarthy at 22, Josh Allen at 22, both hovering at 55% completions. Their first rookie year was 690 yards for JJ, 674 yards for Josh Allen, 2 touchdowns, 5 interceptions for Josh Allen, 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions for JJ. I mean, it's not like we're talking about translatable skill sets, but nobody thought Josh Allen was Josh Allen his rookie year either. So it's like you can point at outliers, at guys that started off really slow, that struggled. Is there anything that you think you can take away from watching what you've seen so far with JJ McCarthy to think that he could get this sorted out?
I think that John Harbaugh probably had a good idea at Michigan, only letting him throw the ball like 10, 15 times a game.
I mean,
no,
I mean, nobody could watch Michigan games and just say JJ McCarthy was going to translate to being able to throw 30 times a game. And it's just not how he's been played. It's not really the system that he's played in. I think that if he was with Harbaugh, he would probably be a more successful quarterback right now. I think if Justin Herbert was with KOC, he'd be a more successful quarterback. I think if they just swap quarterbacks right now, we'd have a couple guys fixed up pretty quickly. But I don't know if I'm gonna label JJ McCarthy a pretender. And I know it feels premature, a premature pretender, just because there's gonna be such a downslide for him before there's a rise. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if we're going to see it this year, if we're going to see JJ McCarthy suddenly become a good NFL quarterback within this year's time.
Yeah, I mean, the year 1 was the lost season with the injury. Year 2, I would love to know what his value was post week 1, that Monday night game where they came back and won that game, and he had a rushing touchdown, and he had a passing touchdown as well. At that point in time, you're riding the high of, all right, JJ's with Kevin O'Connell, emotional win, coming back, showing the dual threat ability, and I think that's something that JJ McCarthy can bring. He does have the ability to extend the play with his feet. Is he as dynamic of a runner as, say, a Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson? No, obviously not, but it is something that he's capable of doing. But I haven't seen anything Jefferson's clearly frustrated. They can't seem to be getting on the right page. Jordan Addison is essentially not playable, And Jordan Addison, before JJ McCarthy came back, but prior to the suspension, he was averaging 15 points per game. He's a wide receiver, low end wide receiver 1, high end wide receiver 2 every week with Carson Wentz at quarterback. And that was with Jordan Addison getting suspended the first 3 games and getting suspended for like that first series in that London game. So, I mean, he was still playing very well. So the weapons are there. And it's been proven that this offense can get the ball to these guys and that these guys are capable of being game-changing talents at the wide receiver position. So at some point in time, Kevin O'Connell showed you that he can do it with any other quarterback, really. The receivers have shown you that they can produce with any other quarterback, really. At some point, I think we just have to cut our losses with JJ McCarthy before he really has no value and you can't get out from underneath of him. And he's just a sunken cost asset. So I would say he's there too.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to swallow. I was a big JJ McCarthy believer just because of the system. You know, I wasn't going to take him over Drake Maye like I saw a couple times in Dynasty startups. But yeah, I mean, you've seen them do it with the Darnolds and even Carson Wentz to a lesser degree. So this is alarming, you know, especially from the standpoint of the Minnesota Vikings, where you'd just assume that he would slide in. And I think there's a lot more work to be done. Let's kick it over to a different guy, though. You and I were talking backstage where we don't see these quarterbacks sit behind anybody anymore. We don't see any of them come in as rookies and really have to learn the game for a year. And I think that's really hurt the developmental stage of these guys in general. You know, we're not seeing them process the game and come in NFL ready. There's a lot of nurturing needed. And, you know, this guy got it. We're talking about Jordan Love. He's probably the last of the quarterbacks to actually have a couple years behind a future Hall of Famer and to learn the game that way and to learn how he preps and how he goes about the game and how he sets up his day of the game and before it. And, you know, there's just a lot to go into the preparation of a game in general, but to have that luxury of just sitting in the game film room with him and looking at what he sees, it probably could go a long way. But Jordan Love has been pretty good. I mean, as a whole, we're looking at 10 games this year. He's sitting at 67.7 completion percentage, 103.2 passer rating. He has 3 interceptions, 16 sacks. Obviously, he's got a good O-line. That offense in general, they have, you know, it seems like 9 wide receiver 2 to 3s on that team. I think anybody in the NFL would love that wide receiver room. It's just nobody's that guy, but there's so many guys that you can mix and match. And I think it's almost hurting them to have that many guys that can produce in the NFL on one roster. I can't think of any other NFL team that has, you know, their wide receiver 6 could be the wide receiver 2 on a lot of teams. And I don't even know who their wide receiver 6 is or their wide receiver 2 is, or their 1 for that matter, but I don't think it matters at all. How do you feel about Jordan Love so far? We've obviously had him a little longer than JJ McCarthy. But, you know, between last year, this year, what are you feeling from Jordan Love?
Yeah, I mean, they were drawing up, you know, deep shots to Savion Williams. They're drawing up end arounds to Bo Melton. I mean, they have guys all over the place. I think that's honestly what hurts the offense the most is that they're all interchangeable, but none of them have really done anything to separate themselves from the other in terms of this is our guy. The guy that they do have is Tucker Kraft, and Tucker Kraft goes out with the ACL injury. And I think the offense is clearly taking a hit as a result of that because they don't have a captain on their team, a leader that everybody looks to as the guy in the locker room. So I think that's definitely played an impact on the passing game where that perceived number 1 target is gone, and now you have to try to backfill that. And it clearly is going to be Luke Musgrave because we've been waiting for that to happen for years. That's never going to happen. But to answer your question, Jordan Love, contender or pretender, I think Jordan Love's put out enough tape in the league that he's a good quarterback. He's gotten the contract. He's got a 5-year contract for like $250 million. Obviously, they went and made the trade for Micah Parsons, including a couple of first-round picks in that deal as well. Micah Parsons gets paid. So for better or worse, the Green Bay Packers are stuck with Jordan Love for the foreseeable future. I don't think he's going anywhere. So I think you have insulated protection there. I don't think Matt LaFleur is going anywhere. So I think you at least know that the offensive coach that's been calling plays for Jordan Love's entire career and has proven that he is a very good offensive coach in this league is still there as well. I think the front office has shown you that they can identify skilled players to put around Jordan Love, at least at the receiver position, at the tight end position. Running back, they went out and signed Josh Jacobs. They did draft Marshawn Lloyd. He has yet to suit up for a single game in the NFL so far, but Emmanuel Wilson's filled in pretty serviceably as a backup. So I think they have the guys. I think the offensive line could probably be a little bit better. I think Green Bay would tell you like they're not too thrilled with like the push they're getting in the run game, and I think that's predominantly what they want to build the offense on, and then allow those intermediary weapons that may not be alpha type guys, but they can get open against some softer coverages and in play action, things like that. So I'm good with the idea that if Jordan Love were on my superflex team as like my low end QB1, high end QB2, that I'd be happy with that. If he was my low end QB1, I would hope that I'm better at other positions having Jordan Love as my QB1, but I don't think you're dead in the water if Jordan Love's your QB1.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Jordan Love is a contender. I think that he does have that insulation, and that's what you really want to look for in quarterbacks. I think that the coaching staff is solid. The system is good. Really, when we're looking at these guys from a lens like this, you want the ecosystem to be set up perfectly. You want the coaching staff, the support staff, everybody to be kind of locked in. Obviously, long-term contracts. The guy that drafted you is still on the team. Like, there's just like little nuances that you want to look for, especially when you're looking at a dynasty quarterback. Consistency, and that's why we love. I mean, we obviously love all the points that we can get from a Josh Allen or a Mahomes, but we know that they're not going to be on a new team next year or the year after. We know that they're not going to dramatically change their environment. Although the Bills might actually try to, I say this every year, like they're going to do something big, but they still have not. I'm dying for them to do something big, but there's not going to be massive changes. So Jordan Love is in that tier of quarterback that we're good. We know what it's going to look like for the next 5 years. And it feels good, so I'm in on Jordan Love. Definitely a contender. Let's talk about some guy that is, I don't want to put the injury prone thing out there. I don't want to say anything, but we are almost flip-flopping contender pretender right now. And I didn't even mean to do this, but we're going to Michael Penix next. And this is still the JJ McCarthy. I think he actually went one pick before JJ McCarthy, or two picks, right? So he was right next to JJ McCarthy in the draft. I think he went right before. Obviously, when he was drafted, everyone was like, Kirk Cousins is still a G. Everyone was like very up in arms about this, and obviously it kind of worked out. But people forget that Michael Penix is coming off 2 ACL injuries. He's had that massive recovery when he had both the ACLs, I think at the same time, I believe in 2020 or 2019. And then the shoulder, and now we're looking at ACL again. From what I've seen, it's been a mixed bag. I think Penix, he shows that he's a baller. He's somebody that absolutely can elevate the game, and he can show up when needed. He can definitely play in big games. He's good at end of series. He's good in tight games. I think that he has that chromosome necessary to, elevate in big play and big situations. I think that that's really what his bread and butter's been, bowl games and big games in college. He's really shown up and he's played well. And then, we've seen like when he played the Patriots, for example, when he was just throwing it up to London, and it seemed like they were going to win that game just based off of the fact that, he's got that dog in him. He was really just like fighting for any play. And I see the vision with Penix. I do see him, just because he has that ability to play in big games and play in situations. I do like it. And he does take care of the ball. Like, he's not throwing, crazy. He's not JJ McCarthy. He's not double digit interceptions within 5 games. In 9 games, he's got 3. And he's not fumbling a lot. Decent completion percentage. Passer rating's okay, but he's going to fall into the Alex Smith territory for me, like where he's a decent quarterback. He's okay. Like, is he ever going to be fully healthy? Is he ever going to, show us that he can play through a season? I don't think we can see it from Penix after 3 ACL injuries. I think that is terrifying for a quarterback. Sorry, I went on a tangent with Penix here, but yeah. Well, how are you feeling? I think that there's not much to be said outside of the injury scare, but how do you feel about Penix, and is the injury stuff pulling you way out of possibly being in on Penix and Dynasty?
Yeah. You could definitely go back to like my Twitter and you could do like a full like old takes exposed thing when those mock drafts were coming out, and there were whispers at that point in time during that last season in Washington where Michael Penix was being talked about as a first round pick. And I remember having like the opinion, I don't think there's any way Michael Penix passes like medicals for NFL teams at the combine. Like, I don't see how he would get drafted in the first round. Like, I would be shocked if he got drafted in the first round. But when I saw that, I was like, well, he's going to be completely off of my board, like in Dynasty, in terms of drafting and rookie drafts, because I just can't invest what a first round pick quarterback would require in a rookie draft to invest that type of capital into him, given the injury history. Sure enough, he goes 8th overall, and goes 8th overall to a team that, like you said, had just signed Kirk Cousins for like $90 million guaranteed. And I think it's like a 4-year deal for like 180 or something along those lines. Half of it was guaranteed though. So he goes there and you think, okay, well, I guess like Penix will sit for like a couple of years and like learn the system, and he'll rehab like even more fully, and he'll be multiple years off of like those injuries and be like in an NFL weight room, and maybe he builds up some durability about his game and on his health. But obviously that didn't come to fruition. They had to go plug Penix in. And I don't even know if it's so much as I'm going to call Penix a pretender. It's not even so much, like you said, the skill. I think he's proven that he could throw the ball. Like he could chuck the ball. He's got good weapons around him with, Bijan and Drake London. Kyle Pitts, a free agent out this year. I cannot see how they could possibly bring Kyle Pitts back, given how it is they used him. However,
would you buy? I mean, I know that we're talking about.
I would buy Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I would buy Kyle Pitts right now too. Yeah, good, simpatico. Yeah. All right, keep going.
But I think you also have to look at it as the Falcons are now with 3-7, maybe 3-8. I'm not exactly sure. They're probably 3-7. They had a bye. Is Raheem Morris going to be the head coach there next year? Like, is
not after that trade. I mean, when we're looking at that trade, that was with the Rams, right? Where they gave the the first round pick
for James Pierce. Yeah,
for James Pierce, and
that's gonna be a top 10 pick now. So Raheem Morris, clearly it's not working out the way that they wanted it to. He brought Sean McVay's coffee boy, Zach Robinson, over to run the offense. He can't seem to get Kyle Pitts involved in the offense. Raheem Morris will sit there and say that Bijan Robinson is the best individual player in the NFL, and yet they take him out for Ty Algier like every other drive. So that clearly doesn't make any sense. Terry Fontenot has now spent God only knows how many first-round picks on skill players when they can't do anything with the skill players that they draft. So is it a whole new regime? So now are you walking in with Kirk Cousins still technically under contract, Michael Penix coming off of a 3rd ACL injury, likely going to be a new GM and new head coach, or at the very least, new GM? Because I can't imagine that they could stick with Terry Fontenot having that trade completely blow up in their face. You could have any argument that you want about James Pierce and if he's a good player or not. I think he's played all right this year, but you gave up essentially what is now a top 10 pick for James Pierce, and
Yeah,
not going to be any better result.
Just the entire decision making from, you know, when you can start at Kirk Cousins getting that massive contract. And at that age, Kirk Cousins was coming off a major injury himself. You know, I think he hadn't played before that, right? He was just coming off the injury and then coming back. And then you draft Michael Penix, who has incredible medical history when we're talking about all these red flags with his medicals. And Bo Nix was sitting there too. And you could interchange these guys from a college standpoint. I think they were very close prospect wise. And Bo Nix didn't have any of these injury histories, that anything that you would be like, okay, like maybe he could re-injure this. Nothing. And to go, I don't know, just that thought process when you already had Kirk Cousins, why not go get a Nix? Like possibly trade back a little bit, go get a Bo Nix and not take a Michael Penix if you really wanted a quarterback in that situation. And then you come back to this draft cycle, and we just talked about that trade. I think that there's no way that they're going to keep the regime. They're going to probably break it down from at least the most top they can go and all the way down, you know? Yeah. Especially if we're looking at like a top 5 pick, you know, with no Penix, no Drake London, and if Kirk Cousins comes out super flat, yeah, if this pick nets the Rams like their future, you know, Matt Stafford replacement or you know, just like a big time playmaker. Yeah. I mean, it's
volatility in the front office, volatility with the coaching staff now, volatility with the injury history, and then Penix is still under contract for at least 2 more years, assuming they don't pick up the 5th-year option, which, like rookie quarterbacks, if you're drafted in the first round, unless you're like horrifically bad, they'll tend to pick up the 5th-year option. So, but then the new regime comes in. Do they even like Michael Penix? Do they even think Michael Penix is a good player? Do they want to invest their job and their future in the hopes that Michael Penix doesn't get injured again? Probably not. But at this point, what are you conceivably going to be able to trade Michael Penix for?
That's the thing, you know, like now with all these injuries, is Michael Penix in that Tua range in the actual NFL where he's, you know, he could be an injury away from possibly being out. I mean, hell, if you get 4 ACL injuries in the span of 5 years, I think you might not be back on the field. Like if he tears an ACL again after this and you have 4 ACLs, like say you tear, you know, the same ACL 3 times or to that, you can't be back on the NFL field. You can't come back to playing professional football. I mean, you could, but like, do you want to risk the chance of, you know, a lifetime of leg injury? Like, I mean, if you keep tearing that up, I'm by no means a doctor, but I can't imagine you could just keep coming back and tear your ACL and just say, this is my life. This is what I'm doing.
The two names that stick out to me, that if you're the Michael Penix owner, because I'm just trying to, because we could say he's a pretender all we want, but I mean, try to give like at least some possible way to pivot off of him. If you're the Michael Penix owner, could you pivot to like a Kyler Murray? Could you pivot to like a Bryce Young?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would want to. I think I would definitely. Kyler Murray is going to be on a new team next year, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Kyler Murray could be the Saints starting quarterback next year. He could be.
He could be in Minnesota.
He could be in Minnesota. He could. There's many teams that might not have the pick, or they might be more comfortable going for Kyler with one of those high picks than a Mendoza or, you know, like a guy like that might fall into the 104, 105 range. So, yeah, I think that I would definitely take a Kyler Murray, Bryce Young coming off that big game. I don't even know if the Bryce Young owner would feel comfortable doing that. If you're looking at a guy that is punting and has a Bryce Young, they might want to hold on to Bryce Young at this point.
Diamond hands on Bryce Young.
They might just say, "Hey, he's not doing that great for me either way." I'm not shedding that many points if I do trade a Bryce Young for a Penix. It's not like he's trading a Dak Prescott who's lighting it up. I mean, hey, if you could go get a Dak Prescott right now, if a team that is completely folded, if they're like a very bad team right now and they have a Dak Prescott and he's the only guy that is really getting him points and keeping him out of that lottery pick situation, you might be able to get a Dak Prescott given the age gap, Dak Prescott being 31, almost 32 years old. Hell, Michael Penix is old as shit though. He's like 25, 26 already. So
I was just looking for like just a couple of guys that like maybe we could float the name out. I think the one other name that you could float out there, and this one might be a little off the reservation, Mac Jones.
Oh, baby.
I think Mac Jones might potentially have found a way to get another, like if Justin Fields got like another shot to be like a starting quarterback with the Jets. I mean, what Mac Jones did with the 49ers, I mean, they were winning games. Like, is it not?
I mean, yeah, I could see him. I mean, because the Browns still are an absolute mess, Joe
Flacco's starting in the NFL. He's 43 years old. You tell me Mac Jones isn't going to potentially get another shot?
Yeah, Mac Jones absolutely is going to get another shot. He's definitely going to have a redemption year as a bridge quarterback. But if he eats like Sam Darnold did in his bridge year, yeah, I mean, wheels up, Like you would have laughed at me if I told you to go trade a Michael Penix or JJ McCarthy for Sam Darnold last year, and it is what it is. So, all right, let's kick it over to FastDraft before we keep going here. If you aren't on FastDraft, I definitely suggest that you go over there. You can use our promo code DGEN. That's DEGEN. DGen, and you can get up to a $50 deposit match. So FastDraft is a no-rake best ball situation right now. We were talking about a flex 6. I'll kick it over to the Podfather, and then we'll come right back.
I know you're sad draft season is over, but just because the NFL season starts doesn't mean the drafting stops, because FastDraft has the Flex 6 frenzy. You're drafting 6 guys for the Sunday slate. It's fast, it's furious, it's fun, and as with everything on FastDraft, there are no salaries. Woo! So go to draftfaster.com, get the app, use your host promo code for a $50 deposit match. Now let's go start drafting faster.
Love that guy, man. A lot of energy, dude. A lot of energy from that man. So once again, that's FastDraft. Use our promo code DGEN. So DEGEN. And let's keep it moving. So we are going to be talking about a rookie quarterback right now. He didn't fall into a good situation, probably fell into the worst situation possible. We are looking at Mr. Cam Ward, obviously going over to the Titans as the number 1 pick, and he currently has 41 sacks, which is league leading right now. And then I put in parentheses, Titans are ass right next to it. So we are looking at Cam Ward, and I see from Cam Ward a lot of bright spots. I see Cam Ward throwing anticipatory passes. I can see him leading his receivers. I don't think he's been gifted anything. His Calvin Ridley was supposed to be the rising star on this team. He was supposed to be the wide receiver 1, and he's been injured or just useless the entire season, and we're looking at him actually coming onto the IR yesterday, I believe. So, he's throwing to Ian Omar. He's got a mix of Shamir Dike, and there's just, it's not pretty over there. The poor guy, obviously, when you're a number 1 pick, you aren't falling into a favorable situation. You're not going to have a really beautiful situation to, it's very rare, honestly, you might see that come about with the Rams if the Rams are eating up that entire first round pick right there from the Falcons. But it's very rare to see a very good team with a top pick. So he's got 58.4 completion percentage, 73.8 passer rating. The numbers aren't great, but the tape, as I just alluded to, the tape's not too bad. I mean, I do like a lot of the stuff I see. I like his pocket awareness. I like that, he's making things happen even with the limited amount of time that he's had. And he doesn't obviously do well behind that O-line, but I don't think any quarterback would do great behind that O-line. So he's hard to assess given the situation. How do you feel about Cam Ward so far within the 10 games that we've seen?
I think you hit it on the head. If I don't own any Cam Ward personally, but if I did own Cam Ward, I don't think I would be worried. Like you said, who's he really throwing the ball to? Like, what's this offense doing? They're constantly in negative game scripts, constantly has the defense's ears pinned back against a really bad O-line with nobody that's really getting any type of separation. Like you said, Ivan Manor has been solid. He's been good, like as a rookie 4th round pick. He's been good. DK, I mean, he's been good for some splash plays and stuff. They needed like a number one weapon though. But there hasn't been anything that I've seen from Cam Ward that I would be trying desperately to get him off of my roster. I think, his overall demeanor and how he could be seen as lackadaisical and maybe a little aloof, like might be off-putting to some managers and things like that. But I think he's shown that it's clearly not like his fault that they're that bad. I know people say that sacks are like a quarterback statistic, and I'm sure like some of them are due to him holding on to the ball because he wants to play to develop, because he needs the wide receivers to separate a little bit more to actually make a decent throw. But there's been other throws that he's made to where he throws it and there's not really a ton of room at all. The throw that really sticks out to me was that play against the Rams where he floods out to the right, leaks all the way out, and then throws the ball across the entire field, across the left hash, and hits Io Manor in the end zone for a touchdown against the Rams. That was like week 3, I want to say, maybe week 2. When I saw that play, I was like, all right, like Cam Ward clearly has the ability to play quarterback in the NFL. It's just a matter of, can the franchise get out of its way? And I don't really know if we have the answer to that. I don't know if that answer's ever going to become relevant or foreseeable in the near future. I have no idea what they're going to do with that coaching staff moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to get messy before it gets pretty. I think that we are going to probably see a lot of changeover, and Cam Ward might be, one of those guys that just has a different coaching staff every year. And I hope that he can break through that cycle of guys that are taking high picks, but have, a different front office or a different quarterback coach or a different head coach. And it's really hard to get in a rhythm that way. It's hard when the system is constantly changing on you. So I believe in Cam Ward. I don't love the situation, but I'm not going to call him a pretender by any means. It's not his fault. I don't think that you can place any blame on Cam Ward as the player. I think that, as we were talking about before, the system has to be right. And, would you trade a Michael Penix for a Cam Ward straight up right now?
If I was the Michael Penix owner, I would 100% want Cam Ward over Michael Penix. Not even a second thought would cross my mind.
Penix is so down bad right now. I love it. I mean, I don't love it for Penix. I have no ill will towards Penix at all, but it's like sometimes when you have these biases and you do feel a certain way about a player, I don't know, I never thought Penix was going to be a guy. I have one share of Penix that I got in like the 9th round of a startup one time. And he's my quarterback 3 right now. And I'm whatever, I haven't started him. I started him one time this year. So he was balling out, but yeah, I'm taking Cam Ward over Michael Penix.
Yep.
Tough. All right, let's move it on to a new guy right now. It's still in the same realm. I just mentioned him when we're talking about Michael Penix, is Bo Nix. Bo Nix has had the discourse is like from here to here on Bo Nix. Bo Nix is the most loved and hated man at the same time when it comes to NFL quarterback, dynasty quarterback. There's a subset of Twitter that will tell you Bo Nix is the best quarterback in the NFL. And then there's another subset that will tell you Bo Nix is not even a starting quarterback in the NFL. So where do you stand on the Bo Nix conversation?
By the way, that's always been the case with Bo Nix. He, going back to his freshman year at Auburn, he had the really good year at Auburn, played Justin Herbert in that freshman year, and he beat.
Oh, yeah. I posted about that
game.
Yeah.
That's always been the discourse around Bo Nix. Is he a good quarterback or is he not a good quarterback? And it's flip-flop, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. When we first started this brand and we were doing our Devy rankings, I put Bo Nix in my top 10 of Devy quarterbacks. I'm still not 100% confident that I'm correct in that take. Did he get the first-round draft capital that you would want? Like if you were spending a Devy pick on Bo Nix? Yes, he did. So in that respect, he hit. Do I think Bo Nix is a good NFL quarterback? Man, it is drive by drive with Bo Nix. And I don't think there's another guy in the league that you could really say your opinion of their play would change that drastically drive by drive basis other than Bo Nix. He does things where it's like the guy has the arm talent. He can extend plays. He can make the off-platform throws. But it's again, just one of those things where he doesn't show up for like 3 quarters. And if you're a Bo Nix owner, he's QB7 on the year. Like he's a mid-level QB1 on a team that's like 9-2, I believe. Like they're ahead in that division. They're likely going to win that division. My thing with Bo Nix, with him being a QB7 right now, this is a roundabout way of me saying pretender long term. Bo Nix is a QB7 right now. Do we think Bo Nix will ever be a top 5 quarterback? I don't know. I would venture to say no, but I mean, he's QB7. How far off would it be from getting to like a top 5 player? My issue that I'm saying pretender long term, that defense is so good. They have so many players on that defense. Bo Nix is a first-round quarterback. He's in the second year of his contract. 2 years from now, Bo Nix is going to be getting like some contract talks. And I think what's going to happen is that we're walking right into the exact same type of situation that Miami is in with Tua now, where you got to pay him because who are you going to bring in that is going to be as good as Bo Nix? And who's to say that, like, you know, next year, the rest of this year, year 4, that Bo Nix doesn't completely disintegrate and is a bad quarterback like he typically is most of the time. That's entirely possible. But say that he does continue playing the way that he's playing right now. They're going to have to pay Bo Nix franchise quarterback money. Like, he's not going to take like a Sam Darnold contract or a Baker Mayfield contract, like these like 3 for 100s, Geno, like another guy that got the same type of deal. But if he takes that money, that means that the team around him gets worse because they have to pay Bo Nix that amount of money. Sean Payton, I assume, is probably sticking around. I don't think that he would like leave the Broncos to go take another NFL job. And as long as they keep winning games, like, Sean Payton will keep his job. So I think you at least have Sean Payton there. But I just don't believe that Bo Nix is good enough to elevate an entire offense around him, which if you're getting paid like $55 million, $60 million by the time his contract comes up, you kind of have to be good enough to elevate the entire offense around you. And I don't think that he's capable of doing that.
Yeah. You and I share the same sentiment because I watch a lot of Bo Nix. I do. I have watched more Bo Nix than I like to admit, just because I did follow him in college. When I first got into Devy, that was his freshman year. I think that was when my first Devy league that I started in was when he was starting, and I had him. No, as it was like my first C2C, because I know I had him. I was getting points from him, and you know, he had a good season that year, and I followed him all the way through. You know what I mean? All 4 years, I was like, okay, like, you know, when he went to Oregon and he started showing out again, it was, I don't know what I felt for Bo Nix. I thought that Bo Nix and Michael Penix weren't first round quarterbacks. I thought they were going to be in that Will Levis range when we're talking about a second round, like possible starter, maybe going to start in the NFL. That's where I saw these guys from a college standpoint, and when they went way higher than I thought, I adjusted. But I also still have that mindset that these guys don't have everything needed to be a full-time starter in the NFL. I think that Bo Nix has fallen into the best situation possible to mask all your flaws, to mask the deficiencies and the issues that you have at the quarterback position, so that they're not out in the open. Like a Bryce Young doesn't have the luxury of only scoring 11 points in a game and winning. Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, these guys that are mid to not great quarterbacks, they cannot score 15 points and win a game. Bo Nix is in a situation where all he needs to put up is 12 points, 15 points. You know what I mean? Like, he needs 1 touchdown and 3 field goals, and he wins a game. And I get it. You're winning games. Bo Nix is not winning you these games. He has good drives. People always point at a drive to end the game. Bo Nix always has a drive to end the game, but that's the only drive he has. It will be like when you watch the Jets game in prime time, that game was like 11-9, like the whole game, and it's like a lot of their games, even this past game that I watched, it's so brutal to watch, man. It is so hard to watch a full Broncos game because the defense is so good that it's an ugly game. It is ugly from the standpoint of both offenses. But I mean, Bo Nix doesn't elevate. He plays down to the defense. He only scores you enough points to get you that win, but he's not like playing elevated. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like he's scoring you what he needs to score you, but he's never like taking over a game. And good quarterbacks, they just take over a game. Lamar Jackson, if his defense is keeping you to 3, he's scoring 27 points. And it is what it is. That's what he's doing. He's not dumbing his game down. He's not slowing it down. He's not like overthinking it. He's just going and scoring points. And I don't see that from Bo Nix. I don't see a guy that can take over a game if the defense is struggling. I don't see a guy that can just like throw the team on his back and say, all right, I'm scoring 4 touchdowns because the defense gave up 3. I don't see it, JC. I don't know. Am I crazy?
No. And we're talking about Bo Nix like this when the team is 9-2. Like, the season could not possibly have gone any better for the Broncos than it currently is. The Broncos in an alternate reality are like a 5-6, 6-5 team. Like, the defense is very much like won them at least a few of these games. That Raiders game on Thursday Night Football was abysmal. It was so bad to watch.
Every Broncos game is
every week.
Every week, the Broncos have looked like that. They have been losing a lot of the time until the third quarter.
Yeah,
and a lot of the time, if you look at the Broncos games, they are down by a score with like 16 minutes left in the game. Every game almost at this point.
So I don't think the cardiac kid could keep being the cardiac kid. To his credit, he's been doing it for like 8 years now, from like the time that he started in college to like the NFL. So, I mean, he's been doing it for like the better part of 2 presidencies. Can he keep doing it for a third? I don't think so. I think the heart gives out.
Yeah. And he is in that good situation. He does have good coaching. He does have a good team built, like he can get away with being fine for a while. I think I think that he's going to, if we see the injuries kind of build up on the defense and then he has to overcompensate and and more pressure falls down in the offense, I can see it imploding. I could see it just, kind of breaking a little bit. I don't know if he can take on a bigger role if that defense starts to break. And that's a fun thing to look at if it happens. But the defense looks like it's set up for success for the next couple of years at this point.
If you're the Bo Nix owner, would you rather have Bo Nix or would you rather have CJ Stroud?
This is probably lockstep even for me.
I think if you're the Bo Nix owner, you could get CJ Stroud and more for Bo Nix currently.
I think you could too. I think that CJ Stroud has frustrated a lot of owners. I don't love the O-line in Houston. I don't really love it's not all bad over there. It's not the worst situation. Obviously, he's got Nico Collins, and then we're looking at Jalen Noel and I mean they just have a good little core.
To me, in the NFL, we have seen CJ Stroud elevate his team and the players around him. We've seen him do it. Has he done it lately? No, can't say that he has. Trevor Lawrence, same thing. Has he elevated the players around him? He's done it in the past. Has he done it lately? No, can't say that he has. We've at least seen them do it at this level, though. To me, those two guys, I mean, even a guy like Jackson Dart, I think all three of those guys, I would be looking to make a move with Bo Nix, because I truly do not think that Bo Nix is ever going to be more valuable than he currently is.
Bo Nix and Trevor Lawrence are so close as players to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe not play style, but the way that they operate in a game, the whole feel of the player, I feel like they're in that same realm of they could be a decent quarterback in the NFL or they could not be in the NFL. And that's play to play. That's game to game. And it's very jarring to feel that way about quarterbacks. When I watched the game film, when I watched them play, I watched the All-22 on this past Trevor Lawrence game, and I said, holy geez, man, Trevor Lawrence looks good. He looks like he belongs in the NFL. And then I watched the game 2 weeks ago, and I say, Trevor Lawrence has no business starting in the NFL. Bring back Mac Jones. I don't see it at all. That's how I feel about Bo Nix, dude. I do. I feel like, sometimes he really shocks me and I say, wow, he looks really good out there. But then the next series, he disappears. He's gone.
By the way, I'm talking tear downs, to a CJ Stroud.
Yeah, no, I'm
if you
with
could tear up, if you could tear up to a Caleb or a Joe Burrow or a Lamar, hey, hats off to you. Even better, you got to throw him a second or maybe a first in a few years or something like that to package with Bo Nix, and you go get an actual elite guy. Hell, even better. I'm more so talking about, let's try to buy low on some guy thinking that he could get to the place that Bo Nix is being valued at currently. But if you got a manager in your league that he's willing to move off of an elite quarterback because he thinks Bo Nix is an elite guy and you're going to give him something on top of it and he's a younger player, I would go try to do that too. I would do whatever I could if I owned Bo Nix. I don't. But if I owned Bo Nix in any league, I'd be looking to down tier.
I do own Bo Nix in one league. I do have a Bo Nix share.
Okay.
This team is not good. I'm definitely in the realm of punting right now. Man, maybe I'll play around with this. I'm going to talk to you a little bit backstage. Let's do our last guy, and then we'll
right.
And then
this
I'll
last
text
one
you.
will be short anyway, so
It'll be short. We know what it is, and it's fun. I always had this discourse last offseason of Bo Nix or Drake Maye with a lot of people from Player Profiler. Bradley, if you're listening, this is for you. But it was, heated at times. We had pods where these guys came on and we talked Bo Nix versus Drake Maye, and it was always a numbers conversation. It was always like but Bo Nix has done this and Bo Nix has done that. And it wasn't like, but Drake Maye could do this. And, it always was never, okay, this is me assessing talent of possibility and them dropping stats of past year, so it's a fun thing to revisit now. But Drake Maye is the next guy up here, and we've seen what Drake Maye has accomplished. He is leading the league in completion percentage. He is leading the lead in passer rating. He's doing this with 31-year-old Stephon Diggs and Mac Hollins, and I think that we got to just give him our flowers, tip our caps to Drake Maye. There's nothing that we're not going to keep this long. We just got to I had to say that Drake Maye is him, right?
That's what I thought this was on the show sheet for, that you just wanted to talk nice about Drake Maye for like 5 minutes. I don't see a world where he wouldn't be valued as like an elite quarterback at this point in time. Like you said, given the weapons that he has. I mean, do I love the fact that the Patriots just luck into like another franchise guy and like only have to go through like a year or two of like real pain? No, I don't love that. I mean, it is what it is. He's a transcendent talent. He's got two nicknames right now. He's got Vanilla Vic and he's got the schedule. Drake the Schedule Maye. There's a lot of hate going around about Drake Maye, that he's really only played like 2 teams the entire season. Both of them on the road, played Buffalo on the road, played Tampa Bay on the road, handled both of them. So, the nickname is funny. It's tongue in cheek because the Patriots do have like a weaker schedule, but guy is just dotting up the field every which direction. He's got the dual threat ability too with the running game. He just seems unflappable too. Like, it doesn't seem like any type of pressure really gets to him. Doesn't seem like he's ever really trying to force the throw. It looks like he's just willing to take whatever the defense is going to give him. He's the quintessential like young up and coming franchise quarterback that I think everybody thought that he could be. I'll be interested to see what happens like when Jaden Daniels comes back next year, or if he comes back at the end of this year. Obviously, it's kind of like a lost season for Jaden Daniels, but a lot of people victory lapping that Jaden Daniels year 1. There'll be a lot of people victory lapping this Drake Maye season year 2. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the rubber match here as the seasons unfold. And that's not even talking about Caleb Williams either, really.
Yeah. There's a lot of. I mean, it's fun, man. It's fun to watch Drake Maye. I think that it would be more fun if Jaden Daniels was continuing last season and was able to stay healthy and just ball out. It'd be really great. The quarterback landscape is great right now. Like from the standpoint of Dynasty, there's a solid 15 to 20 quarterbacks that you could feel pretty good about having. And that hasn't existed in a while, like when we're looking at the guys that are still there with the Mahomes and even Hurts is still continuing to at least produce fantasy points, and obviously Josh Allen and those guys. And then you have the new blood, and then how things shift up and down, and it's really fun. It was, 12 quarterbacks for the most part for so long. For the last 8 or 9 years, it was the same names. And how Burrow comes back is interesting to me, and where he's valued, and there's just a lot of things that are moving, obviously, and that's why we do these Dynasty shows. But JC, thank you for making your return, man. Thank you for coming out of retirement for me. I appreciate it. Yeah. Anything that you want to say to the viewers, or anything that I know you are just getting back into the swing of things, so
keep coming back and watching Dynasty Degens. Good shows, good people involved every week. So keep coming back.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you. And then obviously this is Friday, so this weekend we have the fantasy tailgate. So on Sunday you can join us live. So we're doing start sits, anything that you have related to redraft. So any news or injuries or anything coming up, that's going to drop at 11 o'clock a.m. So right before kickoff at noontime. So if you guys need any help with your lineups, definitely join us. Otherwise, we will catch you next week. Peace.